Okay, make sure. Okay, one more thing, guys. Hello, hi, how are you? So we can do this later. We have very limited time, right? We have only 1.5 hours, or we can say 1.5 hours. So are you ready for this topic? Okay, give me thumbs up. That must be very interactive. Okay. So we will do give and take scenario. If you want something awesome, so you need to be very interactive. Yeah, nice. I like this. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. So make sure, give me the confirmation that screen is visible and audio is clear. Okay. So I'm going to do this. Now let me know the screen is visible or not.
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah, it's visible. Okay, so we are going to start the session, which is named as prototype pollution. And I'm going to open the terminal. Oh, sorry, I'm very habitual to terminal, so I'm going to open the browser and then we will start. Okay, give me a second. So that's the small thing which we are going to start. So let me open the incognito mode, and I hope you understand why. Okay, so let me open the small web which is hosted by me, and something is running on this. Let me open this. Okay, then I'll show you something. Give me a second, please. Okay, so today's topic. Okay, listen carefully. Are you ready? Okay, let me know you are all alive. Give me an acknowledgement that you are actually listening and ready to do something. Yeah, nice. So what we are going to do is we have a small presentation. I think this one is the presentation. Let me show you this. So the presentation is regarding prototype pollution. Okay, so we are going to divide it into two areas. Give me the confirmation every time when I ask you something or when I ask for the acknowledgement. Okay, that will give me some kind of power to do something amazing. So first thing first, we are going see the topic is basically, let me open the notepad. I hope you can see the notepad also. See, I'm very much CLI guy, so most of the things I'm going to do which is based on CLIs. Okay, so I'm going to beat like this. Give me a second. So this session is related to prototype pollution. Okay, so see, prototype pollution is actually something related to JavaScript. Correct? So now we will focus on this particular area later. Number one, I just divide this particular vulnerability. Let me clear this. That is a kind of vulnerability, and I know that you all know that. So we divide it into two different areas. Number one, which is prototype. Once you know what exactly the prototype in JavaScript, then you will easily understand the pollution. All cool? See, Monster is not our sponsor. Okay, so then start. So we are going to divide that particular area in two different ways. Number one, we will learn what exactly the prototype in JavaScript. Then we will move to this the next area, which is called pollution, and then you will understand the actual vulnerability. Okay, so I create a simple lab for that particular vulnerability. So I'll show you everything bit by bit. So I hope you all know me. I don't know you know me or not. My name is Dheeraj Madhukar. So I'm your host today. That's it. So a small detail about me. I'm the director of my organization called Technologies. Also a trainer at CDEC, which is a part of Ministry of Electronics and Information, also a part of Indian Defense. And if you want to know more about this, so I'll I'll show you some, you can visit this particular link, which is my LinkedIn area, so you can check. I will not going to explain all those extensions because the topic, we are going to focus on the topic. So please be on the topic. Don't distract. Fine. So exactly the session workflow. See, I'm not talking about the entire session. The session workflow specifically for this area. You just need to forget about the pollution for now. We are going to focus on this particular area, pollution specifically related to vulnerability, but we need to understand the code first. So first thing first, prototype. What exactly prototype in JavaScript? So that is the basic information related to JavaScript you must know before you want to exploit the vulnerability. Is this fine? Let me know you are alive. I can see Ajay is pretty alive, but yes. Now I can see you all are alive. Amazing. Cool. So guys, focus specific things. Let me introduce you the first thing first regarding JavaScript. See, the point is some of you may have some problem that you don't know how to code into JavaScript. We have no idea about JavaScript or whatever it is. I'm going to explain everything bit by bit. If you will focus properly, you will definitely exploit the vulnerability in any kind of bug bounty program or whatever the organization you are working with. Is this fine? Let's move to the topic again. Okay. So that session workflow, which is related to the prototype specifically in JavaScript, which is you must understand the first thing called objects. What exactly the meaning of objects related to JavaScript? We will understand it very better. Don't worry about it. Second thing, we will discuss something or a bit about the array. Okay. And what we will do within this, I'll let you know. Then we will do something with functions available in JavaScript. Now, what you need to know is what we are going to do with objects. We will understand how to create an object, number one. Then we will understand how to call, or you can say how to read those objects, how to write it, and etc. etc. So just forget everything. Focus on this particular area. Now, first thing first, guys, you can see that the topic is related to object, and I'll tell you how to declare the object in JavaScript. And actually, let's forget about the presentation. I will show you something live. That will be better, right? See, what exactly I'm going to do is you just need to right click and go to the inspect element. I hope you all know that, right? That's the inspect element. And we are going to focus on the specific area called console. Cool. So now the first point, see, the point is how we can declare the object, right? So let me tell you how we need to do this. Suppose there is an object, something, whatever kind of object you want to create. Let's create something like this. You can create it in two different ways. Number one, you can create it like this, and whatever the object name. Remember this. And give me the acknowledgement regularly. So first thing is, you can create something like a session. Fine. That's the first way you can declare the object. Or the second way, you can call it like this, where, or you can consider it kind of variable. Fine. Now, session equals to consider as you need to put some kind of value, or in this area, or specifically in JavaScript, you need to say that value as property. Is it fine? So you can call it session is a variable. In JavaScript, we can call it object, and we will, fill that particular object with some kind of property, or you can call it what? You can call it the values. So let me clear this also. So we need to do some everything between this. So the first thing first, let's create something called name. Okay. That name is basically you can call it a variable or the value of this particular object, and the information is like this, OWASP. Is it fine? If you want to add multiple things or multiple property in this particular area, you can do it like this. Suppose speaker is, who is the speaker? Pata hai kya? Who exactly the speaker? Let me know the name. Dheeraj Madhukar. Okay, just to show off. Okay, so once you're done with this, you just need to hit enter. It says obviously it's undefined because you are not going to print something or something like that. So that session is declared. You can call it object, and that object contains two properties. First property called name, second property called speaker, and the value of the first property is OWASP, second property is this. Is this fine? Yes or no? Nice. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Now what you need to do is, once you know how to create an object, then you need to focus on something like this. Now you understand what exactly the meaning of this particular area, correct? We create an object called object, or whatever the name you want. That's the first property, and the value of this property is this, and etc, etc, etc. Now whenever you will execute this particular object, so you can name that particular object that will give you the entire value. For example, we have this particular object called session. So if you will type session, hit enter, you can see that will show you the object session contain multiple properties like this and that. Cool. Now this is how you can read an object. Simple, very simple. I'll make it very simple, right? Now next thing is, if you want to read a specific property of that particular object, like the object is session, and you want to know the property of this particular session is speaker. So you can do it like this. Session, that's the first thing which is called object. You just need to type dot. Dot will give you the entire method information. How many methods are available, you can execute it with this object. So how we can do this? Session dot speaker, obviously, and your speaker is Dheeraj Madhukar, correct? Now suppose you want to know something else, like you want to check the property which is called name. You can hit it, correct? Simple. This is how you can okay, my guys, please clear this. Audio is properly it's audible to you all. You have any problem with audio? All good? Nice. Screen is visible properly? Okay, nice. Thanks for acknowledgement. So the point is, we have the session variable, right? And we have something like okay, let me clear this. Yeah, that may be because of the bad weather, but please focus on the topic now. Session is the object. You can check the entire object using just type the name of that object. If you want to check the specific property of that object, you just need to run it like this. So now please give me an acknowledgement that particular area is clear. Now there is an another way to get the information about the object. Like, you can call it like this. In this particular bracket, you just need to name that particular property like this. Suppose I want to name this something like that, or you can do it something speaker. See, the point is, there are two different ways to check the property of any object, which is this, and I hope it is very clear. Yes or no? Let's move to the next area, correct? Now you know how to declare the object and how to read the property of that object. Now next thing is, this is only, see guys, this is only related to how to read the property, right? Now you don't know how to write a new property within the object. Suppose the object is already available. Let me give you an example again. We have the object. Let's clear the screen first. Okay, sorry. Like, if you want to clear something, you can do it like this. Simple. So if you want to clear everything, and let me show you something. We have an object named as session, which contains two property, name and speaker. And suppose we want to add a new property for this existing object. So how you can do this? Very simple. You just name that particular object, put dot. Dot will give you the further methods which you can execute for this particular property. How you can do this? Suppose we want to add a new property like host, simple, equals to, and I want to add the name Anubhav. I know we have two different hosts. I know the name Anubhav. I remember this name right now. So you just need to execute it like this. Is it fine? Now, whenever you check the session information, you can see there is a new property added into the existing object. All cool? So first thing first, you know how to create object. Second thing, how to read the information of any object. Third thing, how to add the new property within the object. All set. Now we can move to the next thing. Amazing, right? This is how you can write it. And next thing is next. Okay, let's move to the specific thing, which is the actual execution, right? I'm not going to use presentation. We will do everything live. That will be better, right? Now, next thing is, now what you did, you did something with object. Now we will do something related to array. Okay, let me clear how to create array for this JavaScript. So how we can clear it? We can clear the session like this. Set. So if you want to declare an array, you can use let. I already told you about it, right? And whatever the name of that array you can create. Suppose we can create an array called OWASP, whatever the name you want, right? Equals to, and we just need to create the value of those arrays within this square bracket, right? So first thing is, we will create something like Dheeraj, okay, comma Madhukar. That's my name, right? You can hit enter. Now whatever the array which is declared within this console, if you want to check the information about this, you can do it like this. You just need to type the name of that array. That will give you the information. That array contained two things. First is Dheeraj, second is this. And you know the index of array, which starts from 0 and further like this, increment it like this. So the first thing which is available on this location, you can consider it on the location 0, and that is the location 1. So how we can call it? We can call it like this, OWASP bracket. We need to call the particular part 0. So that will print the information like this. And if you want to call the second part, which is this, so that will give you the information like this. Is it fine? All set? Now, move to the next area. Next area is related to functions. How we can create functions, right? So let me clear the screen again. Cool. So what we will do is, let me write it down for you. We just learn, we create an object named as, what was the name of that object? Session, correct? We create an array, and what was the name of that array? OWASP. Now we are going to learn functions. So how we can do this? Let's create a function like this, function bracket, and we will start whatever the function will do within this area. All set? All cool? Any problem with that? Anything, guys? Nope. Okay, so we will start something like this. So what we can do now, suppose you want to do something within this particular area, like let me show you something. Suppose email, or let's do something like this. I want to create the property. Whatever I'm going to do is, which is property, right? So now it's like Twitter, and I need to add the property within this particular thing. I need to add the value within this property is like something like twitter.com/Dheeraj Madhukar, which is simple, right? That's my Twitter handle. So let's put a simple comma after this. Let's create something else like GitHub. Okay. Once you do this, you can set the value of this one is github.com/DHEERAJ, which is Dheeraj Madhukar. I'm not obsessed with my name. Okay, this is just an example. Maybe you can think like what is the problem with the name? Right? So now what we can do is, when you hit enter, there is some problem. Okay, we can resolve this issue. Let me do something like this. Wait a second. We will resolve the problem. Sorry. Give me a second, please. Let me clear this again. Okay. Now let's check the issue. The issue is actually we have the function, but we need to name that. How we can call it? Yes, you are correct. We need to define the name of that function. So let's create the function name is pollution. Okay, so that's the name of this. What is the problem? We need to remove this. Sorry. Okay. I need a tea, I think. There is the problem, yeah. Give me a second. Let's resolve this. So we need to do it something like this, right? So okay, let's try with something like that. So we have ultimately we have the function called pollution, right? Okay, come to the topic again. Okay, forgot the problem. Come to the topic again. We don't need to resolve everything, right? We have very limited time, so don't worry about it. You can put the space or whatever it is, that's fine. But let's focus on the topic again. So I'm going to clear this session, and let me clear something like this. So guys, focus on the area. We learned about the object, how to declare it, how to use it, and how to read it, or obviously how to write it. Second, array. Now we will focus on the functions. Okay, so the function name is pollution, correct? And that function contains something, or you can say the information related to this particular area. Now what you can do is, if you declare it like this, and if you want to execute it, so you can do it like pollution, and put the small brackets and hit enter. That will give you the information like that. Is it clear? Right, this is how you can just execute this particular function. That's the simple way. The information, if you want to retrieve, we will do something with this. Is it clear now? So what you can do is, number one, you can create an object, you can read the object information and write it. Second, array, and third is function. Any problem with this? Let me know. All set? Okay. So this is how we can do something with the basic of JavaScript. That's it. We don't need to focus on everything. We are going to focus on specific area which is related to the topic, prototype pollution. So these are the things we must understand before we will execute something. Now what we need to do is, this is the first way how you can provide the information in function. Let me do something else with the same. Okay, we will do something with the function again. Now this time we will do something different. Okay, now see, focus on this, or I can do one thing. I can write a simple code for you over here, then we will implement it. Okay, I'll create a simple code for you, then we will implement it one by one. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple function. Okay, understand it. We need to name the function, whatever the name you want. Suppose the name and bracket. And within this, we will provide the information regarding it. Clear? That's how, this is how we can, execute the information. Clear? Any problem with this? No, right? So, okay, now let's move to this. So let's create a simple function, or we can do is, something like this. Okay. So first thing is which contain the information like name. Let me clear this. Dheeraj. Okay. Then the next thing is, suppose bio, and that bio contained like the information like hacker. Okay. You can assume it. Is this clear? Now what we can do is we can get the information accordingly. So let's create something like, the function name is suppose info. So we can call this particular function to get the information related to this. Now suppose you want to create an object and add this particular function within object, then how you can execute it? Let me clear this. So you know that we have an object already. We have an object called session. So let me show you. We have this object called session which contains this information, right? Let's move to the next area. Okay, now that's the session information. What we can do is, that is the basic information. Now we can do, we are going to add this particular function within this object. So how we can do this? We can do it like session dot, and let's create something named info. Okay, then equals to, we can create a function within this, and this function contains the information like this dot. Now what exactly is the meaning of this is, suppose you have a variable a. Let me give you an example. Suppose you have a variable a which contains the value 2. So in this JavaScript you can call it like this dot a. So that will print the value of this variable a. Okay, this is just to make you understand what exactly we are going to do is. So we are going to do something like this, this dot name comma presenting comma this dot speaker. Okay, comma, and the host is comma this dot host. So now the point is that function contained this dot name. That means the value of name which is OWASP. Presenting, that's the normal string, normal text. This dot speaker which contained the value which is this. Now we are going to print the information like that's the simple string, and the host is, and whatever the host it is. So whenever you execute it, now let me show you something. This session contained the information which is property and a function called this. So if you want to execute that particular function, you just need to type it like this, session dot info, bracket close, hit enter. That will give you the information. What is the problem? It's a typo issue. Okay, what exactly the problem is? The problem is we need to put a simple comma, not dot, right? That will fix the issue. So whenever you execute it, what's the issue here? Give me a second. I'll fix it. Just a second. Let's create a simple session again. Okay, that will take 1 second. Dheeraj. Then we will do something. We need a speaker, right? Speaker, and we are going to present. Okay, let's change the name. We need to change the name to OWASP. Speaker is Dheeraj, and the host is Anubhav. Set. Now set the function, call the function. Let me make some changes. Give me a second. I don't know what exactly the issue with this. Let me check. Give me a second. Just a second. Okay, which contain the correct information. Obviously, the information and the function contain the correct value. Is right. Okay, we can do something like this. Okay, I'm going to change the approach, the simple approach. We will create a simple function called suppose info. Okay, that will be the function. Then we will do something like this. In this function, we will create this dot name equals to name. Okay. Now this dot bio, suppose like bio. See, that's the declaration of this information. Okay, and that information comes from simple declaration. Done. Let me clear this again. We are going to create a simple function called info. First thing. Now that this dot name, which contain the variable called name, so we need to define the value of this particular thing, right? Then this dot bio, which contain the information, whatever the information comes from this particular variable called bio. Okay, so what we are going to do is we need to define the same thing over here. Number one, we need to declare name. We need to declare a second thing called bio. Done. Now what we will do, we will set a simple thing called suppose u1 equals to new and the function where we supposed to get the information like info. The first thing, that first thing which comes from this location, whatever the name you will put, right, Dheeraj, and the comma, and the second thing like bio, attacker, right? So what that will do is that will create a simple variable called u1. That u1 will create new object into this particular function, and the first position of the object will goes to the value goes to the variable this, and second object will goes to the variable bio. So that will contain the information. Now we can do it. We can call it like this dot name, right? So let's call this particular variable called v1, sorry, u1, and that u1 will store the value called name and bio. Okay, let me clear this. Tell me, is this particular thing is clear to all of you or not? Or I will repeat it, no problem. See, we create the simple function called info. and we want to see, okay, I'm going to repeat it. We just create a simple function called info. That's the first part. Second thing, we create a variable declaration, or you can say the object declaration called name. So whatever the value comes for this particular variable, which will store in this particular property, and second will store in the property bio. So we put it over here so we can, get the value from the object. So where is basically used to create it, or variable or something. New is a thing which will help you to create a new object. Simple. So we create a new object for function info. So the first area of this particular function we will create is called Dheeraj. So whatever the first area, or whatever the value of this first area will goes to this particular variable called name, and whatever the second property will goes to the second object for this bio. So whenever you call this particular variable, that variable will contain the information something like this. Now it's clear? Tell me. Okay. So we have two things. Number one, first object, read and write. Array, read, and how to call those arrays. Number third, which is functions, how to check those functions. Now, what exactly the meaning of prototype? Now that's the question, correct? See, we know about everything related to this information, which is important to understand the further area. So let's move to this exact thing which is called prototype. So how we can understand it. Now focus on this. I will create something amazing for you. Okay. So what we are going to do is, let me open this area and create a new thing like proto. Okay, we will create something and rename it and type it like this JS. Okay, I'm going to create a simple JS to understand what? To understand the prototype. So what exactly the meaning of prototype in JavaScript? You need to focus on the specific thing. First thing is, prototype is a kind of inheritance in JavaScript. And what is the meaning of inheritance? Inheritance is a kind of tree. Yes or no? Is it clear? How we can understand it? So let's create something where you know that what is the meaning of where, right? Where is basically to create an object. Now let's create an object called object1 equals to, within this object I will create something like name, and the name of this object is suppose OWASP. Is this clear? Yes or no? Let me check you all are alive. I am high now. So the name of this object, see, the object name is obj1, and that object contains the information like name, and the name of this object is OWASP. Let's do something like let's create another property within this object, and that property contains the information is like suppose bio, and that bio contain we all are hackers, correct? Is it fine? So let's copy this particular property and execute it here. See, so we are going to execute this particular area. So I'm going to copy this and paste it over here. When you execute it, it is defined within the console. Now, if you want to check the information of this object, which is object.1.name, so that will give you the information called OWASP. If you will execute it like object.bio, that will give you the information. That means this particular object contains two properties. Is this fine? So let's create a new one. So we are going to create a new object called object2, and within this object we will create something like bio. Okay, And in this bio, we will declare the name is like coder. Okay, so let's copy this particular property and paste it over here. Now we have two objects. Okay, let's clear this and give you the information. First object, guys, focus on this. Which object contain what information? This is important. Number one, first object contained two property, name and bio. Correct. Second object contain only a single property, which is called bio. Now, suppose I want to execute something like this. Sorry, something like this. So this will execute or not? Give me your answer. What is the output of this particular execution? See, we don't have that particular property within this object. So whenever you execute it, that will say it's undefined because it is not declared within the object. We don't have this property in object 2. You are alive or not? Yes or no? Right. So let me clear this again. We have first object with two different property. We have second object with single property. So whenever you execute it, that will give you all over the information, which whatever the information that object have, and the same thing for this also. Now, next thing is, what is the now we are going to implement prototype within this. Suppose what prototype will do is, prototype will inherit the information from every object to every object. Is this clear about the prototype? Prototype will apply the inheritance for entire program. Now you can call whatever object from wherever you are. Is this clear? Yes or no? That must be interactive, guys. Yes or no? Now what we will do is, we will do something like this. We have the object 2 dot, we create a prototype. We just need to add this particular thing called dot prototype after the object, equals to object 1. Okay, then what will happen? Let me show you. Whenever you do this, so JavaScript will do what? JavaScript will inherit the property of object 1 to object 2, just because we are using prototype in JavaScript, and that's the nature of prototype, to inherit everything. Now you will see, whenever we execute object 1 dot name, that will give you the information, dot bio, that will give you the information. Correct. Whenever you execute object 2 dot bio, that will give you the correct information. That is the same scenario which we have. Correct. Now this will not replace the existing information for this object. That's the beauty, right? That's the important thing. So in object 2 we have bio and the information accordingly. So you can see, whenever you type object 1 bio, we have hacker, because we have hacker in object 1, and whenever you type object.bio, we have coder. Now if you will execute object 2 dot or something like this, so you can see, we have, see, within this object we have bio only. So you can see there is another thing called prototype within this. You get it or not? give me your acknowledgement. Is it clear, guys? All set? Yes, Pratik, if it is not clear, just let me know. I will clear it again. Don't worry, I have no problem. See, this vulnerability is really amazing, and I will tell you how to change this particular vulnerability to another one. Okay, let me give you this example. See, we have a few people who don't understand it. Let me clear this again for them. Okay, so guys, if you will focus this, I'll tell you how to do this. Okay, understand it, please. Now I'm going to close this session. I'm going to create the console again and implement it one by one. Is it clear now? Focus. We have the first object. which contain two property. Is it clear? Okay, give me the acknowledgement again and again. Okay, regularly according to you if you want. So we have the first object which contain two property. That's the first hierarchy. Simple. So we just need to copy this particular area. Sorry, let me copy this and paste it over here and execute it. So now we have first object contain two property. So obj1 enter. Yes, object oriented kind of thing, but not exactly the same with other languages, right? So focus on the same thing again. We have one object which contain two property. Is this clear? So I can move further. Yes or no? Give me a quick answer. Okay. Now let's move to this next one, which is object 2. Whenever you type object 2, which contain a single property, correct? Okay, that's nice. So we can type like this: object 1 contain one. Okay, I just type like this, only two property, right? We can run like this: property 1 or property 2 or whatever the property it is, right? Or you can call it A1 and A2. Just to understand it, we have a single object which contain two property, and we have another object which contain only one property. That is simple, correct? Now suppose if you want to read the information about this, like object 2 dot bio, so that bio property contain the value coder. So we have the answer coder, correct? Yes or no? Clear? Now suppose we have this answer, correct? Now if you want to execute object 2 and you want to see, we have the name property within object 1, and we want to read this property from object 2, name. So obviously that will not give you the answer because we don't have this property within object 2. Now how you can reach that particular thing? There is a one way called prototype. Now how you can use this prototype? Whenever you implement prototype, JavaScript will inherit everything, every object to every other aspects like function or anything like that. Is this clear now? So how you can implement it? We have object and we don't have this property within this object. So if you want to read it inherently, you just need to apply something like this. So what that will do is that will provide this inherent information to this particular object just because we are using prototype. Yes, so that will inherit the information. Let me show you how. When you execute it now when you execute the prototype, check this object 2. See, this object 2 contains the existing information, correct? Also one thing is called prototype. Now let's drop down this particular thing. That prototype contain a new object which contain the information like this. So now this information is also available for object 2. See, now let me give you the exact information. Whenever you type object 2 dot name, see, okay, that will give you the answer. Let me show you. See, so now object 2 only contains the information of bio, correct, which is coder. Now whenever you call name information, so that will check we don't have the particular property within this. Just because of prototype, we can move to this next area and check this other further information. Now you tell me, is this correct? You understand this information? Yes or no? Okay, now let me demonstrate this simple thing again for you all. Okay, give me a second. I'll give you the exact information. See, now we will do everything practically. See, first thing is we will create a simple object called object 1, which contains the information like this: name, Suppose Dheeraj, comma, bio, suppose hacker. All set. Now we will do the same thing for a new object called 2. And that object only contains the information like Anubhav. And we don't have anything named as bio. Anubhav. All set. Now, let's clear this and show you all the information like this. Object 1, object 2. Okay, we did something wrong. Let me see. What is the problem with object 2? Sorry. Okay. We by mistake we replaced the same thing. I'm so sorry about it. Just because I provide the exact same name, that's the problem. So I can do this again. Give me a second. We can copy this, paste it over here, hit enter. We can copy this and paste it over here and hit enter. Now, whenever you clear this, if you will pass the object 1 which contains this information, we pass this, so contain this information, right? So if you want to read the inherit information, you just need to type object 2 dot prototype. Okay, and see, let me give you an example. Prototype will also provide in this area also. I mean, you can declare the prototype like this or just like prototype. It's all up to you. Okay, it's all your way to do work, right? So prototype dot equals to object 1. So now we have the information. So object 2 dot name, bio, which contain coder, and we can check prototype dot name. Now we have the information. You can see we have the information like this, and we also have the information within this like this. See, so now using object 2, you can read the information of object 1. So this is how inheritance work within this JavaScript. Now tell me if it is clear or not. So we can move to the pollution and exploit the vulnerability. Everyone, properly clear? So you will understand the exact vulnerability. Okay, now we can exploit. Okay, cool. So I create a simple see, if you have some kind of basic doubts, so you will that will be also clear in the particular lab. Okay, so I create a simple lab. Okay, let me open the lab for you. See, I create a simple lab. See, let me do clear this prototype thing again. What exactly the meaning of prototype? If you have multiple objects and you will implement those objects using prototype method, so JavaScript will implement inheritance. So you can read whatever the information available in whatever object. Now it's clear, prototype. Okay, so now let's move to this next area called pollution. How you can do this? We have a simple lab. Okay, and right now this lab is basically private. I will public it after the session. Okay, so let's do it something like this. We have this lab, and you can see that lab, this particular thing contain a simple HTML called prototype pollution, and that's the simple text. And that text contains the information like demo. Is it fine? Now let's focus on something. Okay, you need to understand the lab and you can easily exploit this, and I will also show you the same vulnerability or something related to this on real website, live website, which is running publicly. Okay, I'll show you everything one by one. So now let's focus on this lab area. Okay, before this we need to understand something like this. Focus on this. I will explain everything bit and byte. See, first thing is we have a function set. The function create a constructor value. Constructor function is basically the main thing of whatever we are actually doing. So that main constructor function contain two things, email and name. And then this email contain the variable, or you can say the object called email. Second thing, this name contains the same for name, and we have a specific object within this called this activity equals to false. It's a predefined value called false. So is it fine, guys? This function is clear, yes or no? Then I will explain everything one by one. Just tell me this function is clear, yes or no? Okay, so now the information of those objects comes from this particular area, and that area is this. See, we create a simple thing called var, and that var using a variable called or an object called user1 and user2. That user1 creates something for this user constructor function. That is the function. Okay, and in this function, for this email object, we have a value, email property, we have a value called dheeraj.owasp.something, and for name we have this. Now for this next user2, we have the information which is this, and the second information which is this. All set? First thing, which is the function. Second thing, how we use that function to declare the property. Now we create two different things. Number one, user, but you can see there is a vulnerable part available in the code. They declare the user login function with prototype, and you know, if it is if it comes in within the prototype, that will inherit everything. So now if user login, the function will say the active is true, correct, and the secret of this is hacker, and that information will print something like email is logged in with a secret and whatever the information you have like hack. Is it clear? If you will log out, so the active scenario is false again, and this will say this email is logged out. Okay, now I'm going to copy this particular code and execute it for you one by one. So okay, this is not related to our lab. Okay, so let's paste this particular thing, execute it. Now I'm going to clear it. So see, we have this particular object called user1. So whenever you type user1, it says user1 contain the information like email, name, but the user1 is currently inactive. You can see active is false. Let's check the information of user2. Obviously we have the information like the name of this user and the active is false. Is this clear? Yes or no? We just execute this function. Oh, sorry, this particular thing and this particular thing. If you want to log in, you will use this login and logout function. Now it's clear. Then we will move to this login and logout. So suppose you want to execute a simple function for user1, and if you want to log in this user, you just need to type user1.login. Execute it. When you hit enter, it says this email is logged in with a secret hacker, and obviously whenever you log in, that will change the active value to true and set a new object called hacker and print the information like this. So now we have this information, and you can see user1 contains the information, the active is true now, and we have the secret, but we don't have the secret of user2 because user2 is not logged in. Is this clear, guys? You are alive. I know this is more about the programming or something, but this vulnerability is really amazing. Whenever you exploit the lab, you will see. Okay, so now understand this. We don't have the information. Okay, let me repeat it. Do you want me? You want me to repeat the code or the implementation? It's not that complex, but let me clear this. I'll try to simplify it. Okay, the implementation says, let's close this, and I'm going to do this again. The implementation says, see, let me just copy this particular area and paste it over here. Okay, now just focus on this. See, we have a simple function which contains two property, email and name, and that email property store the information in this particular object, and name property store the information in this object. Is this fine? Okay, give me a quick answer because we have a limited time, right? Okay, now we have another thing which is called active, and we provide the property for active is false, which is static or a predefined thing which is false. So whenever you execute this function, it is predefined, active is false. So now for this constructive function, we have an object and we use a new thing, which is new is basically used to create an object for this particular constructive function. So the email contained the first value and the name contained the second value. Now it's fine. Yes or no? Okay. So whenever you type, sorry, so we need to implement it. Execute. Okay. I'll show you everything. Now we have a login function which contains the prototype. That means the thing is, if you have prototype, so everything goes to inherit way, right? So there is a function called login. If user will logged in, so the value of active change from false to true. And also we create a new property called secret equals to hacker. And that console.log is basically to print something. So that will print this dot email. This dot email contains the email's value, is logged in with this value. Now it's correct. So as you can see, we all those users are logged out. So whenever you check the information for user 1, it says active false and whatever the information. User 2, active false and whatever the information. Now it's correct. Now it's clear. We can move further. Please acknowledgement. Give me the acknowledgement quickly. We have very limited time, right? So let's clear it. Now, as you know, suppose we have the information about the user 1, or suppose you can see I'm the user 1, so I can log in, correct? Whenever I logged in, it says for this email we have the information called secret, and now I can access my entire information, which is this. It's clear? Yes or no? But we cannot access to the user 2's value because user 2 is not logged in and I'm not the user 2, so I cannot log in without the information. But just because of the function implement the login area using prototype, so you can do what? Now understand this. To exploit the vulnerability, guys, understand this. Exploit the vulnerability, we need two different things. I mean, you can say for information gathering of prototype pollution, we need two different things. Number one, we must know the name of object, first thing. And then second thing is we must know the function, or you can say the constructive function. What exactly the function which handles the same object. Is this clear? Yes or no? Quick answer, please. So now, as user 1, we don't have access to user 2's information, which is hidden. See, we don't know what is the information about the secret for this user. Now what we can do is we can pollute something that will implement for everyone. How we can do this? See, yes, that will be available on YouTube, but now focus on the topic, guys. So we can do is we can execute something user 1 which we have access, correct? Dot constructor. That means who construct this particular function and which function construct this particular object. So dot name. So that user 1 dot constructor name is user. And what is the meaning of this user thing? Let me show you in the code. That is the thing which is the main function which contain everything, correct? Yes or no? See, these things will implement later. The first thing first, the main thing is user. So now what we will do is we will do user dot prototype. As you know, we can create something like this. Prototype dot. In this prototype, we have two things, login and logout. But we will have access to the secret information whenever we logged in. But suppose we can do something like this, secret equals to oops. So what we are going to do is we are going to create an object for this main constructive function using prototype, so it can be inherit for everything. So whenever the user 2 access this area, like user 2 dot secret and now the secret is oops for user 2. So we pollute something which is in our control, or you can say that control is basically input. Now it's clear. This is the simple inheritance. We implemented on objects earlier. Yes or no? Okay. So that's the basic implementation to understand the inheritance using prototype to the main constructor function, right? So now let's close it and move to the lab. How to pollute this thing. So let's understand the same scenario again. We have a user 1, we have a user 2, correct? And that user contains some secret and we don't know what exactly it is. And that user 2 also contains some secret and we don't know what exactly the secret is, correct? And suppose that user 1 is Dheeraj, which is me, right? I have access to this particular user. Now I want to pollute this particular area to everyone. How we can do this? Let me show you. Now I just changed something and we will work for inner HTML. I will show you something. Okay. Now that lab contained something related to information. So how we can exploit it? Like number 1. Whenever you type user 1, it says the same scenario, which is active false, correct? That's the current information for this user. Okay. Now let's move to this user 2. Understand this, guys. User 2. Now whatever the information about user 2, which is this, without logged in. Okay. Now, and suppose understand, suppose we have access to user 1, so we can log into the user 1, correct? This is how we can log in. So let me log into user 1. User 1, this is my user, so I have this access, right? User 1 dot login bracket, hit enter. Now it says Dheeraj dot something something is logged in with a secret legend. Is it clear? Yes or no? Simple. The same scenario. The implementation is a slight, we have a slight change in this implementation. So what we can do is, whenever you logged in, it will say, and that Dheeraj or something something which have some secret which print on this particular area. Now we don't have access to user 2. So suppose you will type user 2 dot secret. We don't have this information because user 2 is doing something else, right? So what we can do now, see, let me close this area. Okay, minimize this. Now what if we can change the information, something clear? Sorry, we have user 1 access, so we can check the constructor dot name, and the name of this constructor is user. So if we will implement something like this, user dot prototype dot, and we have a string, an object called secret, and equals to, we will do something like, understand this, we will do something like hacked, hit enter. So that will inherit to everyone. Yes or no? For user 1 and user 2. Is this clear? Okay. So whenever you will log in, whenever the user 2 will log in, whenever or wherever, and hit enter, that will give you the same information according to this, correct? Is it fine? Now if you want to implement the attack, that is the basic information which you can see. That information is basically related to what? That information is related to something like inheritance available in this, right? Now if you want to exploit this particular area, so you need to do something like, let me open this. As you can see, whenever the first user logged in, it says the information for this secret is legend, and the for this is the same for the second user, right? Now let's exploit it. I'm going to open the same lab again to show you the exploitation. Now open this and User 1 not logged in. User 2 is not logged in, right? So let's log in with user 1. Hit enter. That will say that user's secret is legend. Now user 1 dot constructor is capital user, right? So we will copy this, implement it like this, and we will do something proto dot secret equals to hack, and we'll try something. Okay, now user 2, let's log in with user 2 and like this. So you can see, guys, can you see the secret of user 2 was legend? Now the secret comes from the inheritance which we implemented for this particular constructor. So whatever the secret information available for this user, that will not read this, because that will only read the main constructive function, and the secret is already available over there, so it is hacked now. Now understand this, how we can lead it to the vulnerability. Let me show you. 5500. Okay, we have this particular lab. Now suppose again the same point, we have only access to user 1. So let's log into user 1. Okay, now user 1 secret is this. Now we are going to store the accesses for every user which is available on this particular website. How? If you will implement it like this, for main constructive function dot underscore underscore proto dot secret equals to double quotes img src space on error, which is the simple accesses, right? On error equals to alert 10 or whatever it is, you can type hack, right? And close it. So this particular thing, the value of secret will inherit for every user, correct? So whenever the user 2 logged in, the secret will be this. And if this is the secret, so that stored accesses will, pop up on the second user or every user on this one. Yes. So whenever you execute it, now you can see the secret of everyone is this. So let's try to log in with user 2. Whenever you hit enter, that will provide something. So see, it says the alert or something like this. So you can change the information accordingly, like something let me do something like this. You can do it like this. Give me a second. We can implement a script. You can type a simple script, alert, just a traditional JavaScript, right? Like this. That's the payload. So if you hit enter and user 2, let me log out the user 2. Okay, and log in again. So let me show you. Yes. The problem is with actually spelling. I forgot to type L. Let me log out it again and clear this session and implement the exact thing with correct the small mistake. Right now, log into the user 2 dot login bracket close, hit enter. What is the problem? Give me a second. We just need to type the exact accesses. That's it. So don't worry, we will do this. I hope you understand the exact meaning, right? So we can do what? We just need to log into the user 1, number 1. So it says it's legend, right? So we change the constructor function, which is user dot underscore underscore proto dot secret. So when we implement the secret equals to, in double quotes, you can type something like img src equals to x on error equals to, we can use prompt bracket 1 and close it. I hope that will execute, right? Hit enter. Now let's try to check user 2 is inactive. So let's log into this user 2, hit enter. Now we have this accesses for this user, and or you can say for every user. So every user will infect with this particular stored accesses. You can use it for blind accesses or many further information, right? So let me show you that will be available for every user or not. Right now we are logged in as second user, correct? So let me log out from the second user and log in for the first one, right? That will inherit for everything which is available for this. When you execute, that user also affected for from this. Now suppose you are working for your bug bounty thing, and you have some kind of application and you want to find something related to this. So how you can do this? We need two things. Number one, object. Okay, and second thing, the constructive function for this particular object. Let me give you an example. See, I'm not going to exploit any website because we have some restrictions, right? But I can give you the idea for live websites. See, we have a website which contains some bug bounty program, right? So that website is tidepool.org. Okay, this one is the live real website. I'm going to show you something really amazing regarding this. Okay, how you can check for the prototype or prototype pollution for a huge JavaScript. Let me show you. That's the simple website, right? They have some kind of bug bounty program. How we can check? Let's go to the sign up. I can give you an example. I cannot exploit it because of some restrictions. Okay, see, that's the simple thing. Is this clear? Let's create something, whatever that website required. Okay, we have this information. Now what we can do is, we have this. Let me show you something. Let me close this. Go to the source code, and in this source code we have some JavaScripts. You can see, right? There is a JavaScript called config. Open this JavaScript and let me beautify this code. Guys, focus. I'll tell you how to do something with that kind of public code or something like this, है ना? So let's copy this, beautify this, and as you can see, there is a variable, correct? This is how you can declare the object. So the object contains the function. You can see the function is E, obviously, and the object name is config. Is this clear? Yes or no? Which is similar to the example which we did something related to this. Yes or no, guys? Right? So we have an object called config which contains some function, whatever the function it is. Now let's move to this area. Open this console. Okay, and go to the console. Clear this. Now, as you can see, the object name is config. So just type config, hit enter, and you can see we have something within this object which contain a lot of information which also implement the prototype. You can see this prototype over here, and how you can identify if you have a huge JavaScript. Just go to this particular JavaScript, find for prototype. See, we have a prototype with its property, right? So if you will do something, now you need to check what kind of access you have. If you have the access of object, okay, we can read the object. Now suppose you need to check if we can change that value for this object. Okay, so let's try to change the information of API host. Okay, so we can do how to create, or I told you that how to add new objects within object. So sorry, how to add new property within object. So you just need to type the name config dot, let me show you, API host, correct? And the value of this one is this. Now I'm going to change this for everyone. How we can do this? We just need to type prototype, sorry, proto __ dot. So the API host which is not available in this. So how we can do this? We can change it for like this, prototype, and the value of this host we can change it to blah blah. Hit enter, sorry, it says config prototype is undefined. No problem, no problem, no problem. We can change it like this. We have two different ways to implement it. Done. So now we have access to this particular input. Let me check. When you type config, so the value of API host is blah blah in this prototype object. You can see. So you have control for this input. Now that can lead you from something which is see, we don't have the right to exploit on this particular website. I cannot show you that, but I'm just giving you that particular idea. So if you can change something within the prototype and you have access to this particular input, that may implement on something. So suppose where to look if you want to check this vulnerability. There is only one way, or we have another way, but I can show you a one way. Suppose we have the name, we have this whatever information at email or something, suppose, and suppose let me type the password 123456. Okay, 123456. Understand this. When I click on this particular thing, create personal account, it says password must be at least 8 character long, and that 8 information may comes from this particular area. That says the password minimum length is 8. So suppose if I copy this thing and config dot prototype dot this equals to LOL, hit enter. So it says LOL is not defined. We cannot define it like this. So we have another way, underscore proto, correct? So we don't have access to change the input for this particular thing. This is how you can find out the information. Now you understand what I'm saying? You need to check which input you have access to implement. If you have access to change the input, you can manipulate it for many other things. Yes, I can give, I can check for the input area like this. Yeah, that will work. See, so now if you want to check the config thing, we have something in, related to this, and see in this prototype, we have another thing called this. So now that may do something on this website, which is, I cannot show you this, but I hope you understand what exactly the meaning of this prototype vulnerability. We can do a lot of things. You can you know, if you want to read more, if you want to go for this particular vulnerability, you need to understand the function eval. You can read the function merge. You can read the function something. We have a lot of functions. Suppose you have eval function within the JavaScript that will give you the RC. If you have merge function, you can use proto with or to exploit a lot of things, right? See, dot prototype and dot proto, which is the same, but that underscore proto underscore is only available because if you want to implement something, you cannot see if suppose you implement prototype by mistake, but you cannot do mistake like this underscore proto underscore. That's why the function have two different ways. That's it. See, I create a lab for a simple thing, which is blind accesses or accesses or something. You can, there are a lot of labs available for RC. You can explore them, but we as you all know, we have 1.5 hours. This is all I can show you for my presentation. I hope you understand this vulnerability and how to exploit it. That's why I just give you the example for on live website. So now I can just say thank you. I hope you like the session, right? And I will definitely give you that lab. I'll public this lab very soon, so you can access this lab on this location, from this location. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, sir.
suppose If you want to see, if you have any question or you want to ask something, you can go for the Twitter handle and ask anything on this location. See, I have this automation tool for this vulnerability. I will public it very soon. I have this tool. I will public that tool for prototype very soon. Don't worry. Sure. I will, and that will check for every type of prototype function or vulnerability. Every type. Don't worry. I'll share it. Thank you so much, Abhinav, to invite me on this chapter. So
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to finish this session now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable information. We hope everyone loves this session. And our next guest is Suraj Bhosle, who will explain about getting your first CVE. So just wait for 2 minutes. He will be there.
Yes, guys, next session is from Suraj Bhosle, sir. He will be guiding us about how to get your first CV. Wait for some minutes, he will be there. And sir, thank you, Dheeraj sir. It was amazing session, sir. We got something new to learn that was not there on internet properly. Got something really amazing, sir. Thank you.
Hello guys, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Anubhav, Pramod, I'm not able to hear you. Are you speaking?
No, yes, we can hear you.
Let me check. Actually, I'm not able to hear you.
No, we were not discussing anything, so I think that's why.
Hello, Anubhav or Pramod, can you speak something?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, thanks. Let me know once my screen is visible.
Yes, yes, it's visible. Perfect.
Okay. So, guys, thank you for inviting me to the talk. Thank you, Anubhav and Pramod, for inviting me. So, today's topic is getting your first CVE. So, I'll be discussing about what is CVE and how you can get one under your name. So, let's begin. So, first of all, who am I? So, I'm Suraj Bhosle and I use alias Conqueror while I go online. I'm an application security mentor and I work at eClinical Works. Part-time, I'm a bug hunter and I hunt on HackerOne and Snack platform. I focus on web applications, API, and network VAPT. So this was about me. So what is today's session agenda? So today we will see what is CVE, then how to get CVE ID, then what should be the approach, and later on I'll tell you some hints or tips for hunting CVEs. And then we will have a question and answer session. So let's move. So, CVE overview, what is actually a CVE? This is a common vulnerabilities and exposure that is basically a database of uh, publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. So, let's say there is some product and in that you found a vulnerability. So that product has some unique version along with it, right? So that version will have that CVE ID, that version will have that CVE ID and it will be published. So CVE provides, why do we use CVE? So CVE, it provides a convenient and reliable way for the vendors and enterprises and all other interested parties to exchange information about cybersecurity issues. So basically, it provides a way to assign a particular vulnerability to a particular product, and also it helps organization to mitigate those vulnerabilities. For example, let's say you found one SQL injection vulnerability. So along with the vulnerability, there will be a CVSS score as well, right? So each and every CVE have the severity and CVSS score, corresponding CVSS score. So that helps the organization to like plan and prioritize the vulnerability and they fix accordingly. So for example, there is one CVE ID. So CVE ID basically looks like this. That is CVE hyphen the year 2021 and then a number assigned to it. So we'll see this in details. Let's move on to the next slide. So now you know what is CV. It is basically a number assigned to a vulnerability that helps in identification of that particular product and vulnerability. So now how to get this ID? So you have to, first of all, you have to identify a vulnerability in any of the product, and then you have to contact the vendor or developer of that particular product. And there are different things in this. And I like I'll show you what is CNA and what is when a vendor is called CNA and how to reach out to them when you find a particular vulnerability in their product. So basically, once you attempt to contact the vendor or developer, you have to check if that vendor is in CN is in the list of CNA. If it is in that list, then they will assign you the CVE ID. And if it is not in the list of CNA, then you have to do some extra steps like you have to check if that vulnerability was reported by someone else before or not. If it was not reported, then you can report it. So definitely you have to first contact the developer or vendor, and if there is no response from them, let's say it's not a CNA. So basically, what is CNA? I'll show you. So CNA means the authority, like CVE CVE assignment. They have the authorization to assign CVE. So basically, full form of CNA is CVE number authority. So let's go to, for example, let's go to this CVE MITRE. Okay, so once you go to request CVID, you will get a list of CNA. Scroll down, and then you can see there are different organizations or companies which are in the CNA list. So if you found a vulnerability in any of these products like Adobe, or let's say advanced micro devices, or Arista, Apple, so you can directly email to
Suraj,
them. They are under, yeah. Hello.
we just able to see your presentation slides.
Oh, sorry. Let me share my screen once. Can you see web browser?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks thanks for reminding. So when you go to cvemitre.org, when you click on this request CVID, you will find list of CNA. So this is the list of all the vendors which are under CNA. So they have the authority to assign directly a CVE to you. Whenever you find a vulnerability in Adobe softwares, then you can mail to them, and they will fix that vulnerability. And then they will ask you, you can disclose that, and then you can register for a CVE. So, so this is basically called the list of CNA. And if suppose the product which you like the vulnerability on which in which product you have found that is not in this list, then you can directly contact the developers. And if they are not responding to you, then after some time, like you can disclose that. But first, you have to fill this form for CV. There is one form. We go to this request CV ID. Let me scroll down. CV request web form. So you have to go to this link, and then you have to select what you want to do. Like you want to report a vulnerability or request a CV ID. Select this option. If you are creating a new request for a fresh vulnerability that you found in the product. So basically, this is there are certain mandatory fields which you have to fill. Then only this you will be able to submit this form. So I'll take you to this form later on. First, let's go to the slide. Yeah. So this is basically how to get how to get a CVID. So I showed you the form also. So let's move forward. Yeah, and if this point is also same, like if you are working with the coordination centers like CERT, PCERT for fixing a particular vulnerability which you found, then they will direct you to contact the CV at the right time. And one more point you can note is like the vulnerability does not have to be public before you request a CV ID, but it does needs to be public to be included in the CV list. Uh, the meaning of this point is, suppose you found one fresh vulnerability in Adobe software, any of the Adobe software, and then you will report it to Adobe CSERT, right? You will send them a mail. They will acknowledge that, and they will reproduce that particular bug at their site. And then they will reply to you that yeah, it is true positive. We will fix that and we will get back to you. So once it is fixed, they will ask you to register for the CV. Um, they will ask you to fill that form and the MITRE form, and then you can register that. So here the meaning of this point is the vulnerability does not have to be public before you request a CVID. So you can fill that form anytime, right? But that will not be published until and unless they have the proof of concept, or you say exploit. But it does needs to be public to be included in the CV list. So until and unless you submit them the exploit or a blog post where you have shown the proof of concept that this was the vulnerability, they won't add it to the CV list. But however, you can submit it. It will be under reserved category, and once they there is a proof that that vulnerability exists, that will move from reserved category to published. So I'll show that also on CV MITRE site. So this was basically the approach. Sorry, this was how to get the CVID. So I'll show you now the approach, actual approach, how you which you can follow. So first of all, you found a vulnerability in a product, then request the vendors with responsible disclosure, the same thing which I have covered, and then you have to actually uh, post that exploit. Either you can post that on your blog, or you can send an email to submit@offsec.com. That is exploit DB email. So before this, you should get the permission from the vendor or developer that the vulnerability is fixed and we are disclosing it to public, right? So once you have that permission, you can send that exploit to exploit DB. And once exploit DB approves that exploit, they will reproduce that exploit on the same version which you have mentioned. I'll show you what all things you need to include in the mail. Later on, I'll show you a sample email, or let's say sample post, sample request. So, and after that, they will give you an acknowledgement email, exploit DB, and then once your exploit is accepted, you will get an email. And after that, you have to go to CV MITRE and fill that form. So basically, the step is find a vulnerability, report it to the vendor. They will respond you that the vulnerability has been fixed. You can make it public. Then you have to submit that exploit on your blog or exploit DB. Once it is accepted, then you have to go to forms dot the CV mitre.org, and then they will accept it. In that form, you have to provide the reference to that exploit. They will accept it. If you don't get any reply from CV MITRE within 48 hours, then you can again go to that form and take a follow. So I'll show you now. So let's go to this form. So first time you will select report CV vulnerability, request CVID, type your email here, and then this is actually a PGP key if you want to encrypt the email conversation or the email response from this CV MITRE. So we won't fill anything over there. Directly you can come over to here, and then you can select the vulnerability. Let's say you found accesses. So select accesses. A number of vulnerabilities reported or IDs requested. Right now, let's say I found one accesses. So I'm trying to report only one vulnerability. So vendor of the product, you have to specify the vendor. I can say like Adobe, let's say for example. Then you have to provide the product version and the URL as well here. And then there are a few more fields. Attack type, it is remote if it is over the internet, like access is right, so it will be remote. Then what is the impact? So access's impact is not given here. So you can like you can select other, then other impact you have to mention. Other than that, wherever you see this asterisk symbol, you have to fill all those information. So I'll show you one sample CVID. Let's say this take this CVID, and if you search this on Google, so once you submit the form, this is how it will look like. The description you have to, sorry. So
Suraj sir, can you zoom somewhat once your browser?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks. So here is an example of one CVE that is 2021 to 8294. So there was a file upload vulnerability through which you can get reversal. That is, it leads to remote code execution. So a general description you have to add when you submit this form. Yeah. So here you can add the description. Then you have a field called reference. So in reference, you have to provide exploit DB URL where you have shown the proof of concept, like the vulnerability exists, right? So this is the exploit. So this is the format we have to follow while submitting exploit to exploit DB. So let's say it was a file upload vulnerability. So I have to mention all these details like exploit title. You have to mention the product name and the vulnerability, correct? Then the date, the current date, and then author, your name over here, and then the vendor homepage. So this is the vendor. I will at the end of this session, I will share few vendors on which you can also hunt for CVs, and then the software link where from where it can be downloaded so that exploit DB team will test it, and then the version of that particular software and tested on which platform. So I tested it on Windows 10 using XAMPP server. I hosted it locally. This was a web application project. So I hosted it and I tested it. So I found a uh, there was one page, initiate order.php, where there was, I guess, a logo upload feature. So there, instead of logo, I uploaded a PHP file, and then I was able to access that file through this directory, that is design. It was uploaded to design directory. Okay, and then I can directly access this file through this directory, and I can type the CMD parameter, and then I can give the hostname command. So basically, it would execute hostname command on the web server. That was my local host system. So this was the POC. So this way you have to submit the exploit. This was for file upload vulnerability. So I have just given the burp request, that is a post request, and the burp response. This was the burp response, and a few details like where that malicious file will be uploaded and how to access that file. That's it. So this is a POC. You have to submit it to exploit DB. Once it is approved and once it shows on this exploit DB site, you have to fill this form, and in reference you have to give that exploit DB link over here. And any other additional details if you want to share, then you can mention it over here. But you don't have to post the whole POC in this form, because you will just give the reference to that POC. It can be at exploit DB, or it can be your personal blog as well. But the main important thing is you need to get the permission from the developer or vendor to make it public, right? So this was the approach, you can say, you have to follow. So I'll go back to the PPT. Yeah. So the same thing I showed you. The last point is remaining. So let's say you have submitted this form and you didn't get any reply. like after 40, basically they say like within 24 hours you'll get the reply, but let's suppose after 48 hours also you don't get any reply, then come back to this form once again. It is at the bottom. The link is at the bottom. And then next time you have to select other when you are taking a follow-up, then you have to select other and then type the same email ID which you have mentioned before, and then here also select other and type here the follow-up message saying like I have requested a CV before for so and so product, and you will also get a reference number. Mention that reference number over here and then submit this form, and I'm sure you will get the reply soon, because this I found accidentally, because once I got a message from one of my friends on LinkedIn. He said like he has applied 2 months ago, but still he didn't get any reply from MITRE. So like what I did was I was not aware of this functionality. I just selected other option and I submitted the follow-up message to them. And within the same day, like within 2 hours, I got the reply. So he was waiting since 2 months. I told the same procedure to him, and then he applied the same way. Like he took the follow-up in the same way, and he also got within 2 hours. He got the reply, and the CV ID were assigned to him. So this is the process you can take follow after 48 hours. Then if we move on to next slide. Yeah, so this was the process. Do you have any questions? Okay. Yeah, definitely I'll share the slides with you. But I have a few more tips for you, like where to look for the product, where you can find the products on which you can easily get CV IDs. So just a minute, I'll check my what's the problem with watch.
No issues. I think voice is clear. No issues.
Okay, thanks. Maybe Vikram, you have some issue with your earphones. Okay, so let's move on to hints for hunting CVs. So which all products you can select? Basically, you can try CMS, content management systems like WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magneto. All these are CMS. You can try that. You can install it on your local system. You can access it through localhost, and you can find all those vulnerabilities which you usually try on web application. That is XSS, SQLi, LFI, or any other vulnerability. So you can install WordPress. Actually, for installing WordPress, you can download this. Uh, there is one setup called Bitnami WordPress. Bitnami WordPress. So you can download this Bitnami WordPress, and it will allow you to install WordPress on your local system. So for example, on my computer, Windows, Mac. So I'll click on this download for Windows 64. I'll skip this. I know, no thanks, just want me to download. So it will give you a download pop-up. You have to click on save file, and then it will start downloading. So once it is downloaded, you have to install this and just click next. Once it is installed, you can directly access, just a minute, 127.0. Uh, 127.0.0.1, then slash WordPress, and then type login. So you will get a login form. You actually, when at the time you install this Bitnami WordPress, you will be asked for a username and password. same username and password you have to use over here, and you have to log in. So I'll log in. So this is my WordPress installation. Right now, there is nothing on this site. I have not I'm not hosted any blog. So for example, 127.0.0.1 slash. So this is the default page, right? And once you click on Access WordPress, you will get your first blog. Fine. So this is the default page. So what I am trying to say is, right now you have WordPress installed. There are different plugins on which you can hunt. There are different plugins available for WordPress. You can install it. So go to plugins. Okay. Here you have to click on plugin. Then you have to click on add new. And then you can search for plugins. Like for example, you can search, or you can just click on popular and then select the plugin according to your need, like on which you want to test. So basically, you would select WooCommerce or the plugins which will provide you some endpoints for testing, right? So you will have to do a research on it, right? Like which plugins to test. There are many ways. I'll tell you more in details. Just wait and watch. But this is one way you can install plugins, and you can directly access those endpoints which are made for those plugins, and you can test for different types of bugs. So now this was one, installing CMS and testing them. And then the other one is product web portal. For example, there are different firmwares available for Wi-Fi router, firmwares available for network firewall, etc. So you can test those products web portal. So basically, few companies will allow you to log into their demo sites. Like for Fortinet firewall, we have a demo site. This is the demo, fortigate.fortidemo.com. Just go to the site, and then the username is demo and the password is demo. Because you will need a hardware device, right? If you want to test their firmware, it says like I will have only access. So this is how firewall looks like. This is the firmware, and you can see here the version for this FortiGate firmware is 7.0.1. So if you get the opportunity to test it on a device or live, then you can definitely do that. It's not only for network firewall; it can be a Wi-Fi router or any other web portal, right? So you can test it like how you test web applications. This is one way. And then finding products on ExploitDB. This is like the simplest method I would say is like finding products on ExploitDB itself, or finding products on CVE Meter. There are two more websites which will give you a lot of products like sourcecodester.com and phpgurukul.com. So now let's see on ExploitDB what other hunters do. So if I go to exploit and I click on exploit, right, and then I will apply a filter called, let's say, web application, because I want to only see products, web-based products, right? There are different products, thick line may be there, so I don't want to hunt on that. I want to hunt on web application. So I'll select web application, and then I'll apply the filter. So you will get all the recently submitted exploits. So see, this one is bus pass management system. If I open this, so one has replied cross-site scripting, stored cross-site scripting, and admin name was the parameter, vulnerable parameter, post data. So basically, you will see homepage also for that vendor. See, I said about PHP Gurukul. So here, if you go, there are many web applications available. So he chose this bus pass management system, and we started testing on it. You can install this on local, and then you can run verb scan, or you can also test it manually. It's your choice. At the end, you should find some bug and you should report it. So this is the PHP Gurukul website. You will find many PHP projects over here. Select any of the PHP project and start hunting. For example, let's say I'll click on PHP projects. Right here, you have an option. So there are many free projects available. There are also paid versions or paid projects available, but you would definitely you will choose the free ones. Just if you want to like learn something new, or you want CVs, then you can try this, right? So you will get a hands-on of different types of applications, web applications, and you don't need any permission to test because it will be hosted on your system. But however, the next thing you will be to email the developer of this application, and after he approves, after he do some code changes and he release the incremental version of that. Like for example, this web application right now, ELMS is version 1. So once you report some vulnerabilities, he will fix those vulnerabilities and he will release 1.1. So after that, he will ask you, yeah, you can publish this particular vulnerability. You can expose this publicly, and then you have to that like this is not in the CNA list, right? PHP Gurukul. So this exploit you will directly after the developer fixes it, you can directly ask exploit DB to accept your submission, and then you can fill that MITRE form. And in case the developer doesn't reply to your email, or if you are not able to get the contact details for this developer, right? So in that case, so your no, this is just the test email. So if you're not able to get those details, then also still you can report it to exploit DB. So here you will find how to install. Like for example, there are two different modules, employee module, admin module, and there are different functions. It's basically a normal web application with different privileges, authorization levels. So you can test each and every functionality. And you can find different vulnerabilities and you can report it. So here they should have given the installation procedure. Yeah. So installation steps are like download the file, the zip file, unzip that on your local system, then copy that ELMS folder into root directory for there are different directories, root directories. For XAMPP it is htdoc, for WAMP it is www, and for LAMP it is var www. So I have installed XAMPP into my local system. C drive. If I go to XAMPP, there is a directory called htdocs. So here I can directly paste that web application, and then I can start this XAMPP server. So I have already placed one web application called online ordering system. So this was web application I got it from Source Codester. Source Codester is also a same website like PHP Gurukul. sourcecodester.com. So here also you will find different open source projects, web applications like movie booking system and all. You can choose one and you can install it on your system. So same way I downloaded a zip file and unzip, and then after that I'll just start this XAMPP server. I guess it will be installed. Okay. Yeah, you can directly start this. Okay, 1 minute. Actually, I have a different service, a server running. Check. WordPress, it's running, right? So WordPress Apache, it's Bitnami Apache. So I'll stop that and then I will run this particular one. Yeah, it's working now. So now if I access, I want to get WordPress installation. I will get this online ordering system. So if I go to 127, then this still work. Wait. That's actually I have to access this file, that is directory. Go to HADocs, online ordering, GPST. So this is the web application which I downloaded and extracted. So you can log in. The default credentials will be provided in the installation instruction on that same PHP Gurukul, or let's say sourcecodeester.com. So I tried all the attacks like accesses, SQL injection, and all part traversal. So there are many opportunities to find bugs in such applications. So this way you can install it locally, you can test it, you can find the bugs, and you can then report it to exploit DB. And then after that, you have to fill that CVE micro form. Fine. So let's move on to the PowerPoint. Yeah, the one I told you about source code ester, PHP Gurukul, and I also told you about exploit DB. That is, you can just go to exploit DB and you can see what others are finding, what type of vulnerabilities others are finding. But you have to select web app, and then someone has found there is WordPress plugin table press 1.14, and he found a CSV injection. So if you want to reproduce this, then you have to download that particular version of a plugin from here. This is the URL. You can install that plugin and you can just reproduce the same bug, so that maybe you will learn something new with that. And sometimes exploiting the same bug which was exploited by someone else, you will find some bypass. You will find some bypass to it, and you can report a new CVE for that same particular bug, right? So that is also always a good practice. Uh, so this is also a way from where you can find different products like different WordPress plugins, or there is one more anti minor monitor auth bypass someone found this vulnerability. So you can always get the vendor homepage and you can search how to install that on your local system, and then once it is installed you can test it. And then this was one way which you can do on exploit DB. And there is one more. Right now, we don't know that if this was assigned a CV or not, right? The bus pass management system. So either of course, definitely whoever found this vulnerability, that is Embry Aslan, he will only report it to CV MITRE. So might be he must have not reported. Check that by simply using Google. So you may type here, after that you may type CV or MITRE like this keywords, and you can check. Actually, CV is not yet assigned to this particular exploit. Maybe it is in progress. You must have already submitted it. But I just like I'm trying to say, like, you can. This is one way, and the other one is go to CV MITRE directly, and here click on search CV list and just type any of the web application vulnerability, for example accesses, and click on search. From here also you will get many products. So now if you click on search, you will get, this is some kind of product, that is JForum 2. So now you know that this product, if you find any vulnerability, you will definitely get a CV, because previously CVs were assigned to this product. You can choose this. There are many web applications which you will get using this method. Select any web application, install it locally, and then uh, find the bugs and follow the process. So yeah, that was all I have. So let's move on to the next slide. Yeah. So I would like to ask you if you have any questions, you can type that in the chat box so that I'll answer your questions. Okay, so Shubham is asking like exploit should be published first or CVE form. Definitely exploit, because uh, can we report some other exploit also? Other exploits means, can you specify, Pratik? Yeah, guys, you if you have any questions, you can type that in the chat box. I'll definitely answer your questions. I mean, when it will be illegal is if you are not contacting the vendor or developer. If you are contacting them and they are not replying to you, like it's been 2 months or 6 months and they still are not replying to your email, then you can at the end you can ask them that like if you are not responding, like I'll have to disclose it, because see, that product, whichever product you have found a vulnerability, that is being used by so many people on the internet, right? So they all are vulnerable because they are using a vulnerable product, right? So if you are not disclosing it, it is possible that someone might some other hacker might found that particular vulnerability. So you have to first definitely have to try contacting the vendor or developers. But if, for example, if it's 2 months or 6 months, they are still not replying, then what will you do, right? Yeah, guys, any other questions you have? Yeah, there are definitely other criterias also. Like I just showed you web application. You can find bugs through source code review. There are open source tools available like on GitHub. You can read those code and you can see bugs in that code as well, right? So this one I just showed you like how you can do for web application. It can be a thick client application. It can be any product. It can be a library like Python libraries or uh, any like Node.js or any programming libraries. You can find bugs in that and you can also report it. Does that answer your question, Romeo? Okay. So I guess there are no more questions. Okay. So
Yeah.
guys, what I'll do, I'll share this PPT. Uh, I'll share this PPT with you all. Yeah, definitely you can get CV for low as well, but I don't think for informational, right? Because informationals are not considered as security bug, right? So for low, medium, high, critical, can definitely report. See, in real website, if you find a vulnerability, it might not be a CV. It all depends. For example, there are some plugins which are product, right? Website has different technologies into it, right? You might buy by mistakenly you will end up on an endpoint which is actually a third party product. For example, there is a printer, and that is a printer, and that is, or let's say a fax that is incorporated or integrated with your website. So that fax will also have a web page, and you might find a access vulnerability. So that will be a third party component. So you have to, in that case, you have to read the source code of that particular endpoint. You might find some link to the product homepage or product name, actual product name. So in that case, on real website also you can find, sometimes you can find CV because it has a lot of technologies into it. Okay, guys, then if
Yeah.
you are done with your questions,
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
can.
Suraj.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah. Thank you,
for sharing
Anil.
valuable information. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
hope everyone likes it. And stay tuned for upcoming meetups. Please follow us on Twitter. And yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah, guys, and thanks. And I'll share the PPT on my Twitter also. So from where you can download.
Yeah, and I will upload the this session recorded video on YouTube, and I will provide this link on our Twitter handle. So you must be follow our Twitter handle. Thank you.
Yes, guys, be connected to our Twitter handle. We will update you there, all things. You will get a YouTube channel link in Twitter only. We'll provide you there only. No issues. Thank
Thank
you,
you, guys.
Suraj
Thank
sir.
you.
The session was amazing. Thank you guys all for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Pramod and Anubhav, once again for inviting me to the talk. Thanks.
Welcome. Okay, then we should shut down this session. Okay. Thank you guys for listening and being at last. Thank you.